is so much negativity surrounding Mario Kart World right now. It's making me feel like I'm in that one meme. You know what I'm talking about?
This thing sucks, actually.
And it's literally the coolest thing ever? I don't get it, John. So anyways, now that we're here on the 1 month anniversary of Mario Kart World, how's it been 1 month already? I want to talk about this because John and I have been talking a lot off camera about, all the negativity and our stance on the game and how we feel about it, and it's just not like quite lining up. Like, it's not quite making sense where the conversation is and what Mario Kart World actually is, in my opinion.
I know you've been addicted to that Knockout Tour. I see you all the time on it.
Knockout Tour is amazing. It is the exact level of change I needed for Mario Kart. Like, after 10 years of Mario Kart 8, which itself was already very close, in style to Mario Kart 7, which itself was an iteration of Mario Kart Wii, I needed something big and different. And this game finally delivered it. Like, having that open world idea, but still having this, like, linear races through it, through, like, Knockout Tour or, Versus or Grand Prix. I'm just really digging how everything about that. And as it turns out, the routes, the highways, the things that everyone is, not by everyone, I mean the loudest people online that are upset about, are my favorite part of the game. I love those. They're so different than anything Mario Kart has ever been before, with maybe a handful of comparisons I can make, that I find it so refreshing and never tiresome to go down them, whereas, like, the problem I ran into in Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, like when they added the booster course pass and they added like, another 50 tracks or whatever it was, it made me realize it wasn't the tracks that were the problem. I was sick of the mechanics. Like, no matter how many tracks they add, it wasn't going to change my opinion of the game. I was just bored of how it played. So now that they went with its whole broader concept now, it really does change how the game plays. And I'm digging it. So I almost to the point that I find the classic 3-lap structure to be boring by comparison.
Yeah. You made a good little just key word, which is change. And I think that's what I've been feeling a lot of too. It just feels refreshing, so good. Everything's just a new experience, and that's something I haven't felt in Mario Kart since Double Dash.
Exactly. This is honestly, even though it's not all that much like Double Dash, it's the closest to the spirit of that game that any other Mario Kart has been, where it really does feel like it's doing some new things, which inherently is controversial, because Double Dash itself was controversial, a little bit less these days. At the time, though, like, it was scored the lowest of any Mario Kart game at that point by the two biggest outlets, being IGN and GameSpot. So that's right, Fran, I've not forgotten about that 7.9 you gave it. I used to work with Fran, by the way. He's a great guy. But still, a 7.9, uncalled for. In any case, I love that this game reminds me of that. Like, it captures like that chaotic energy, which, to be fair, was also in Mario Kart Wii as well, and it really just like contextualizes it so much better, I think, with these, broader, longer tracks. You have in Knockout Tour, the constant threat of being, literally knocked out, and how by its nature, it gets more and more challenging as you progress, because, the farther in the race you go, the higher the odds of being knocked out, because the Bomb 4 is an increasingly larger percentage of the amount of racers left. It's absolutely brilliant how that works, and I honestly don't really play anything else. Like, people are complaining about Versus, I'm like, what are you even doing in Versus, Like, you should be playing Knockout Tour. I'm kidding, people can play the game however they want, and of course, that's where the negativity is coming from right now, is with that latest update Nintendo pushed out, which reduced the frequency of the 3-lap tracks being able to be played. Which, I get the concern, I get the problem, and I understand why people would be upset. I'm sure Nintendo will likely fix it, or by fix, I mean offer a solution at some point. Maybe they won't, it is Nintendo. But I think my main problem is not that people have those opinions, but I do think that particular stance has been really overshadowing everything else that this game does fantastic. And because I think by focusing only on what Mario Kart has done across 8 other iterations, you're completely skipping over everything that this game, almost everything else that this game stands for, that is new and fresh.
Yeah, it's interesting that I think it's just because there's a key fundamental thing that should be discussed, but everybody's kind of pushing it into another section, and it's that there should be an option just to have regular races, and people are taking that out on the intermission races, which I think is unfair, because there's still a lot to be enjoyed on those routes. It's a spectacle when you drive around it. That's the key thing, is it feels like a theme park ride. I go to different routes and it feels so unique when I go down like a water the waterfalls. Yep. Or I'm going suddenly launched up into the sky. It's just, it feels like an adventure, which is what driving's about. I think the core essence of driving is all in Mario Kart. world, and so I think there's two problems here. People want options, and they're
Right.
currently, this game's launched, it's a little tight on what's chosen because I think Nintendo really wants people to try out the new things. They are kind of forcing people's hand, and people are against that. They want to have their choice, but you know, Nintendo can be a little stubborn. It's like, yo, try a new thing, you'll
Right.
like it. In fact,
Like,
you may love it.
Yeah, so I absolutely get that to a degree. Like, for instance, Mario Party Jamboree, the Jamboree buddies drive me nuts, even though I love the game otherwise, and I wish there was the option to turn it off. You know, whereas it could be argued that's a major new feature of the game, and people might say, well, Mario Kart World is similar in that these, you know, intermissions are this optional new feature. But I guess for me, when I look at Mario Kart World, I feel like those are meant to be much more intrinsic to the game, and that what this update did probably was change the behavior of how random works closer to what they had meant for it to be originally. So the worst thing, honestly, the worst thing that happened is the fact that they may have screwed up initially and then made that change afterward.
Yeah.
If they had just launched that way, I think it would be much less controversial because there wouldn't be that point of comparison directly. And I think you brought up a good point of people taking their anger out on the intermissions because they're not really the same issue. Like, people are annoyed that they're, I guess, the reason it's happening is because they're currently happening in place of the 3-lap track, though I don't think it necessarily has to be that way either. But I do agree with you that it would be great if Nintendo offered some kind of, you know, solution to this. You know, and I don't know what the best way to do that is, because each time you do add a new mode, you are splitting the user base more and more. And I don't know what your experience has been, John, but I've already noticed myself, even before this update, getting to a versus race already took longer than like a knockout tour. Knockout tours typically fill up instantly for me. Versus took a little longer, and the battle mode takes even longer than that, which I don't quite understand, but there's gonna be tons of people playing this game anyway, so I don't know if it's a matchmaking issue in general or what's going on there, but...
Yeah, it's something strange, and I think if they were able to bring back the tournament feature from Mario Kart 8, that would alleviate some of those issues, because those just kept running, and you could choose exactly what you want. So, like, if you want the classic 3 laps, you can set that up in their tournament.
Right.
But if you just want to do whatever you want, I think there's important features that probably will be added, and we're just a little skeptical because the game just launched. It's, you know, it's finding its feet, it's finding its grounding.
Right. I mean, it's impossible to say with Nintendo, but I have the feeling that they're going to be treating this as much more of a live title than they have for most of their previous games, especially Mario Kart. I mean, we've already seen them dabble in this in a way with a booster course pass, but I feel like we're going to see much more of that, where Mario Kart World is going to be treated as like a live type title, and we're going to see a lot more updates for it, whether it's adding options or new ways of playing, or, you know, more routes. You know, there are only 8 knockout tours, which is crazy for a game that has over 200 routes. There are so many more options that they can do that they haven't explored yet, which, you know, they're going to. They're going to add more. They're not going to add more. It's already in the game. They just have to
not
like
knocking it out.
Exactly. So yeah, I think what annoys me more is not that there isn't a point there that should be the option for those who want to do the classic 3-lap structure to do so. Maybe there's a way for Nintendo to merge it in with the routes as well. Like, you know, maybe you have a route to a classic 3-race track, for instance, and you have it then you move on to the next one. I don't know what the best way to do it is. I think the thing that annoys me more, though, is how much that opinion, which has largely come from the pro community, has overshadowed everything else, when most people are not pros. Like,
I'm not a pro.
I like to think I'm good at Mario Kart. I'm not a pro either. You know, I do play with the intent of trying to win, but that's not the end-all be-all for me.
And inherently with pro players is they try to optimize to a degree where it almost takes the fun out of it. Nothing against you pro players, but when you optimize something so much, it doesn't leave room for that opportunity.
There's
get stricken away all chance of chaos, which is Mario Kart.
There's that classic developer quote, something like, if you give the player the opportunity, they'll optimize the fun out of the game. And we've already seen that happen with this game, where people are like, begging's too strong, you know, you can just hold on to those items and then, you know, use it at the last second to win, which, you know, I can't speak too much to the validity of that strategy. I've, you know, tried it a handful of my times myself just to see if there was much merit to it or not. For one, I find that strategy boring, so I don't want to play that way anyway. And two, whenever, you know, the times I have tried it, it didn't always work out, because sometimes I get lightning or something and I lose my, you know, or something happens, I lose my items. But I can, you know, again, I can see some merit to it, and I wouldn't mind if Nintendo made an adjustment to where, you know, what I like to call them stale items, where if you hold on to an item too long, you know, it may become vulnerable. Like you had the idea we were talking about. Like,
yeah, I was talking about how the booze, they normally target the upfront people. But if someone starts holding on to an item, I feel like that should add to the vulnerability of a boo stealing it. So it encourages aggression, which kind of is what Intermission's all about. It's basically Mad Max Fury Road out there.
That is such a great... It really is Mad Max. Did anyone complain about that being a straight line?
Yeah. Oh, man. They're just going in a straight line. One of the most impressive movies I've seen in the past 2 decades.
One of the most fun action movies, right? Yeah, and I love the Fury Road comparison. But it really does feel like it's Fury Road out there, especially when you're in the desert region, right? And that's why I love Knockout Tour, but it is complete chaos, which is funny and maybe ironic to me, because in Mario Kart 8, I almost found it too chaotic. Like, I found it, like, annoying. Like, being stuck in the middle of the pack, like, was just the worst. Because, like, it was almost impossible to get out of it. In my experience, it felt like it was hard to break out, because everyone is, like, always moving together as a pack. You're always being surrounded by all kinds of items that targeted you, and yet, I'm not having that issue in Mario Kart World. Like, I'm not having that frustration where I feel like, for one, you're not stuck in a single confined area, especially on the highway segments or the intermissions, if you will. And even within other sections, you have the flexibility of taking different routes, riding a wall, riding a power line, or whatever it is. And also, I think the balancing the items, you know, people can complain all they want about the capability of begging or whatever, but I think the balance, by and large, is way better than it was in Mario Kart 8, where I'm not being hammered constantly. And when you are, the punishment for being hammered isn't nearly as bad either, because you get back up to speed pretty quick.
Yeah. Don't get me started on Mario Kart 8's item balancing. You've heard me rant about how much once the person in front breaks through the chaos, they can be like a whole lap in front of you. And sure, get good, but I'm just like, let the 5-year-old win occasionally. Like, let the 5-year-old get the one good item. It's like, that's Mario Kart. You're gonna have chaos. I know losing sucks, but let's have some chaos. Yes, Mario Kart World's items, from my experience, so much better. I've been able to play rounds to where I've been middle of the pack and be able to break through to the front, which in Mario Kart 8 felt impossible.
It often did, and whereas here it just feels so invigorating. It feels so fun that that's a possibility. Like, some of the shortcuts in this game, particularly in the intermissions or highways, are absurd and awesome. Like, I love that you can cut across an entire desert and pull pretty far ahead of the pack, yet it's still not anywhere near a guarantee you're gonna win, let alone even be in first for any more than the next 30 seconds or something, you know, if even that. And I thrive in that chaos. I love that. Like, I for one am one who actually loves random elements in games, because some may say it devalues, you know, the point of getting good at the game, or makes it so that their skill doesn't matter. For one, skill still does matter, but it also makes it so, I mean, obviously it also has the effect of giving other people a chance of winning, even if they may be less skilled overall. But also it adds to it where you have to adapt on the fly. Like, you have to make decisions to account for what's happening around you, the items you have, or in the track you're at, you know, and I love that decision making. Whereas in Mario Kart 8, like, it just turned into like a rote type way of playing, where you know the optimal route, you're always going to take it constantly, and I can almost turn my brain off entirely while playing that game, you know, even if I still wasn't the best at it, obviously. Though I did win the tournament once, by the way, in that game. But here, and you know, maybe that'll change over time, but for right now, with how fresh the world feels in general, how many routes there are, like, I haven't even had the opportunity to even optimize my playstyle within those routes. I don't know if I will with how many there are, right? But there's twice as many routes in this game as there are tracks in Mario Kart 8, counting the booster course, and that's not even accounting for the actual tracks themselves in Mario Kart World as well. You know, that's over 230, I think, if my math is right, if I remember correctly. Maybe my number's wrong, but
yeah, and even Mario Kart World, in between those intermissions, are the original Super Mario Kart tracks just hanging out. You can't choose them as a course. I wish you could. They're just right there. And when you play in free roam, if you find them, they play the classic music from it.
It's so good. I love that. What blew me away is the one near Booth Cinema, and it recreates the first ghost house in Super Mario Kart. They even had the feather shortcut, you know, along the plank or the walkway or whatever, where you have to feather over to it. I'm like, that's awesome. I love that.
I love that they're like a tiny bit scrunchified. They feel like chibi-fied versions, or
They do.
it's like you grew up with Mario Kart. So it's like, oh, they look so much smaller now that I'm older.
It's a good way of looking at it. But yeah, I mean, there for me is so much to like about this game. Even the free roam, which some people have called pointless, and I'll be honest, I felt that way initially too. And by the time we did the review on the channel, I was feeling more positive toward it. But even since then, I've grown to like it even more. Now, with that being said, I of course can't also feel like there's so much missed potential there. Like, I still would love it if they had a story mode, or had, better missions than just those P-switch missions over and over. Yet at the same time, I had fun exploring that world. Like, I had so much joy just driving around, seeing the sights, taking the details. I made a whole video about over 100 details, like cool details I found in the open world. And John, some of my favorite segments are what would be the most pedestrian in real life. I love that freeway segment, the highway segment outside Mario Bros. Circuit. I just love it. Like, I don't know what it is, but like, there's something so pedestrian about that makes it magical being in Mario Kart World. How I can just look at this freeway and see all these cars driving by, like merging into each other, and it's so fun driving down that, or driving through city streets, or just how there's traffic everywhere. By the way, when you play Knockout Tour, the entire track is basically along Toad's Turnpike. With all the cars moving around. I love that.
Yeah,
so yeah,
it's so great. I think they made a lot of fun decisions, and I've been playing free roam so much because I don't know. Been stressed out lately, and it is a very good vibe. So I've been playing free roam to just relax and enjoy the world, because what they did is they made it feel so alive. Everything is in motion. I think that was like the core concept of this world, because people are walking around, traffic's going everywhere, something's always happening, and that's why I like just going out there and seeing things. And there's like special P-switch missions that have like a little bit more oomph to them. One I remember was in Crown City, I believe, where you had to get the blue coins in the park, and it suddenly just spawned in a whole bunch of pedestrians. So you had to drive around this parking lot, avoiding the pedestrians, and you just bounce around if you hit them. And I just thought that felt like it gave purpose to this park. It's like, it's now a park. People are using it as it was just a cute touch, and a lot in so many.
There are, and I do still wish that they had a wider diversity of missions. It's so weird because they were so close. Like, for instance, the races I mentioned earlier, like, I like that they exist. The problem is that they don't function as an actual race. It's still just a time trial, and the CPUs are just there just to make it feel more race-like. And it's like, why not just make that, a race in the style of the Super NES games, and also make it 5 laps while you're at it. Like, they were so close to making it so awesome. But at the same time, as you were saying, the world is still a ton of fun. I love exploring. I love seeing the wildlife, seeing the dinosaurs, seeing the dolphins, and just taking in and hearing the music at the same time, which is just so enriching, especially with how great those arrangements are. And it really is just like, it's just kind of a chill way of playing the game. I do more understand what they were going for with that. And also, a couple more things about the open world is, one of my favorite things about Mario Kart in general is how detailed the tracks have been. And I always wanted to be like, oh man, how cool would it be if I could explore what's out there, go see what's out there. Now you can, you can literally go outside those racetrack barriers, not during a race, but in free roam, and see what's out there. That's so freaking cool. And then on the other hand is how that, complements the racing itself, and how these tracks are much longer and bigger and broader than they've ever been before. And I just dig everything about that, how there's just like a whole world out there. And I'm still discovering new stuff even after spending dozens of hours taking it all in.
The track design feels like, and this is one of your favorite words, diegetic.
Yes it is. Yeah, no, they fit in well. I mean, that's such a cool idea, right? Like, hey, you have the desert region. That's where they consolidated the desert tracks too, and they all fit. They all flow into one another seamlessly. Like, one of my favorite things too, like, in Knockout Tour, for instance, but even in Versus to a degree, is like it's almost hard to tell. Sometimes I'm starting to understand it a little bit better now, but like, especially early on, is like where a track ends and where the next one begins. And that's such a cool feeling. Like, that's just how organic and natural everything feels, because it does feel like they just didn't randomly plop tracks in a world. Like, they built the world around these tracks, and that's awesome.
Yeah, there's been some crazy changes to how they did the courses, and I think it's for the better of how they did it. I love how even the small prop work, they gave enough detail to give reasoning for going on. Like, I think in your video you showed that the bullet Are they called bullet bills now, or did they change their name?
The item still is, I believe, but the ones, at least the ones being shot out by Airship Fortress, they're bomber bills now.
Bomber bills. So like in Bowser's factory, I think the bomber bills are being made in the castle, and then they get shot out, and that's such a great touch. And they're everywhere in this game, so that's why I love the free roam part. You get to see these touches. They knew you would stop and smell the roses.
That's a good way of putting it. To be fully honest with you, John, I think I've had more fun exploring Mario Kart's world, Mario Kart World's world, than I did Breath of the Wild's world. Like, I just love how, because this world feels like there's new stuff to find constantly. I've had many instances where I'm like, that's awesome. Like, I love those details. Like, I don't think I saw the dolphins for like a week in the game, and I love that they were there, you know, because I don't think you see them during the actual races themselves. And, you know, just cute little touches like that. Like, I think, too, also, you know, I innately just love Mario's world, and it's just fun to see perhaps the best realized form of that in a game. The only thing that gets close or similar, maybe even exceeds it, depending how you look at it, is the Mario movie. You know, where they really kind of fleshed out the Mario world here too. But in game form, we've never really had it before, and I love seeing it here. It's like, oh, this is how, you know, a Mushroom Kingdom Society thing works, right? They have, of course they have like a Jurassic Park style laboratory over here where the dinosaurs are running free, and there's a bridge you can take to get to the city if they wanted to. You know, I don't know.
Do you think Egad was the one who came up with like this Jurassic laboratory?
Probably. I wish it were teased. He needs to be in the game. Where's Egad at?
Dude, I would love. He needs to throw him in there, Nintendo. Burnout Paradise was a big open world racer, but the road routes were so bad for racing.
That's a good way of putting it, and I think that's where the strength of Mario Kart comes in, where, you know, they also built these racetracks into the actual environment. So they were, you know, these were specifically meant, you know, designed in the classic Mario Kart style, but then connected them all is that new route / intermission / freeway system, and which is, you know, surprising to me, the thing I am enjoying the most about this game, because it feels so distinct from any past Mario Kart. The only thing that gets close at all, John, are the one-lap tracks in Mario Kart 8 and 7, I guess, of which are only a handful. And the one that reminds me the most of it would be Mount Wario. Like every route in this game reminds me of Mount Wario, and that's amazing.
Oh, it's nothing but Mount Wario. Yes. That's like,
what I want.
No, 2 cakes.
Nailed it. Honestly, the straight line complaint has to be one of the dumbest complaints I've ever read in my life. Yeah, if you look at a map, I guess it kind of looks like a straight line. If you zoom out, you're 200 miles or whatever. When you're actually racing it, you're very rarely going in just a straight line. There's hazards constantly, not even counting for the items and your opponents. You know, there's different the routes curving constantly. There's elevation changes, you're flying, you're in the water at points. Like, there's so much happening here, I don't understand it. People are out here complaining like it's freaking Desert Bus, which is anything but, you know?
But, hey, Nintendo, add that as DLC.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that would actually be fun, like a Desert Bus recreation. You drive the desert, the touring bus around instead. That'd be amazing.
But suddenly all the pro players just really like that part. They're like, no, this is actually well designed. But one video that stuck out to me, I saw on social media, is people purposely just stopping driving and just grabbing items, like everybody on the race. And I'm like, This, come on. Like, this isn't silly Mario Kart game. Just learn to let the changes be. Was
that in a room? Like, was that a private room set up for that purpose? Or
I bet you. I don't think it was random. But
yeah. Because here's the thing. I mean, I think, again, these complaints are being largely overblown. It's tying to a negativity cycle surrounding the Switch 2 in general. So right now, negativity is profitable for Switch 2. Like, if that's all I cared about, we would just be dunking constantly on the Switch 2. And don't get me wrong, the Switch 2 I don't think is a perfect system. I'm a little cooler on it as a handheld or as a platform compared to a lot of other people. But at the same time, it's enabling me to play what I think is a fantastic game in Mario Kart World. And I think the negativity is just really overshadowing what is fundamentally an amazing game. No, not everyone has to agree with me. That's completely fair. But I do think the amount of people that feel negative about it is being completely blown out of proportion compared to those who are actually having a great time with the game, and they are appreciating it for what it is. You know, whether it is a classic Mario Kart experience or it's the new gameplay elements it adds to it. And for me, like, no matter what, Mario Kart had to change after so many years of the exact same thing. And for those who do want that, you know, completely typical experience, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe is still there, you know? You can still play it. And I want to be clear, I'm not advocating for them not, again, adding the option to play in that 3-lap style for those who want it. But I am saying that, I think we need to appreciate Mario Kart World on its own terms as well for what it does do well, because this is not a sticker star disaster in which they try something new and completely destroy it in every way. That is not what this game is. It's doing some things new. You may not love every element of it. You may want the classic elements back, but that doesn't necessarily mean the new elements are inherently bad because it's not the exact thing you wanted that you played before.
Yeah, I agree. It's just, we gotta learn to accept change, and because there's lots to love, and we're just there's ways to be critical and still have a essence of optimism and understanding. And I know the internet doesn't like that, but
nuance? What? No.
But like I have critical thoughts on Mario Kart World, but I would rather talk about the good points and then have a understanding of these low points to where we can see its purpose and why it's there. I'm a bit of a game dev nerd, so I like to view things through an objective sense.
You are making your own game right now too, so that, yeah, you literally are a game developer. And you brought up a lot of good points there, and in fact, before I wanted to record this discussion, before the negativity really started becoming more of a self-feeding monster, if you will, I was actually considering doing a negative style of video too, but in the sense that, I want the framing would be that, hey, we love this game, here's some things we'd love to change about, but I'm like, the timing doesn't feel right, but there's so much negativity already surrounding this game, based on, what I think is a vocal minority. Not that, again, they don't have a point, but I do think it's largely overshadowed other conversations surrounding this game. And I'm like, I don't want to feed into that right now. I don't think it's worth making a video focused on negativity when there's so much to celebrate about this game. And I want Nintendo to take big swings like this. I don't want them to sit on their laurels and keep making the same game over and over and over again, which is exactly what was happening with Mario Kart for a while. And I would even argue to a degree Smash Brothers. Like, if the next Smash is just more Ultimate, I'm going to be very disappointed, because I know a lot of people, that's just what they want, and that's totally fine. Like that, we can all have our different wants and desires and hopes and dreams or whatever else. But for me, it's like I would love to have them take the opportunity to try something new. Ultimate can still be played on Switch too, so why not take the leap and try something else? And that goes for any number of franchises. I want Nintendo to take those swings and do something new, because you may discover something that is just better, or at least equally good in a different avenue. And for me personally, I can't imagine going back now. Like, I love this new system so much, and how the races feel so dynamic, so different. The scenery is constantly changing, far more than any other racetrack before. Because racetracks were based around a single theme before, but now in the Knockout Tour, you'll cross through multiple themes, and it's just an amazing feeling, and it really makes it feel like it's culminating in something big, and it makes Mario Kart feel more thrilling and more impactful for me than ever has before.
There's something we haven't even talked about that gives almost the whole world a purpose for play, and that is the trick system. Every corner, every wall, every rail now is opportunity. Yeah. So there's opportunity. Even the cars, you can bounce off of the cars and get speed. And
there's cars everywhere.
So it's the game's saying, hey, find your way.
Yeah.
And that's what's great about this game. And I think pro players, they're upset now, but I bet you as they go on, they're not going to be able to turn back either. The amount of the skill ceiling in this game is leagues above 8. Leagues.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's part of it too, right? It's not just the open world, but what it represents, because Nintendo really leaned into that open air philosophy, if you will, where this Mario Kart World is freeing. It is so freeing in a track design standpoint, in a track size standpoint, but in the actual moment to moment gameplay as well, in that, yeah, you have all these new options which we never had before, and I also can't imagine going back either, even if I'm still not the most skilled at riding on walls or grinding rails all the time. Like, I appreciate that's there, and the fact that I'm gonna keep doing and get better at it. Now, I know one of the complaints people might say is you don't need to do that right now for Knockout Tours. Some might say. I don't know if that's accurate or not. I'm having fun discovering whether when I can do it and if I can even pull it off at the same time. And yeah, I'm just having so much fun just learning the game. And even, let's just say also, not to drag it back too far, but even if begging is an issue, I haven't seen it be an issue yet. Like, if anyone's doing it, I haven't noticed it. I've tried doing it, and I find it a really boring way of playing. So, and also, it's kind of inherently a self-balancing thing. But if everyone's doing it, then no one's going to be doing it, right? You know, it's kind of like
the Invincible.
It's like the Incredibles. When everyone's a super, no one's a super.
Yeah. When everybody bags, nobody bags.
So I don't know. Maybe it'll become an issue for, you know, I somehow doubt it because I don't recall it. I don't know. I don't remember it being a huge issue either in Mario Kart 8. Maybe it was. I don't know. All I can say is from my experience of playing online for dozens of hours now, I've been having so much freaking fun, especially in Knockout Tour, that I just don't want to go back. And I think it's a shame that that a lot of that positivity has been lost, you know, or overshadowed, I should say, just by, again, a small, very vocal group of people, which, again, in many cases are pro players. And I have nothing but the utmost respect for people who want to dedicate themselves and get amazingly good at this game. At the same time, their opinions for the vast majority of people should matter the least. Most of us are never going to be pro players. Most of us, like the vast majority of people playing Mario Kart, are never going to be pro level.
And let me tell a little story. I decided to pull my Switch out, bring it out to the main living room, and you know, I got a family member to join me to play it, and they were able to just instantly pick it up and have lots of fun. And we were doing just regular races with the intermission courses, and it felt more lively for them. I think this roller coaster aspect of these routes are much more entertaining for the people who are inexperienced. It's a spectacle there, and something new is always happening, like we were talking earlier, and that's what we should appreciate, is that it's bringing more fun to younger audiences. I think 8's great, but there are limits to like the approachability. This one has a much easier time stepping into for a first timer, but it still will always have that pro aspect of it as you master it. And I said it earlier, while people are upset now, it's just because it's change, and it takes time to grow fondness, and this negativity will pass. The spirit of joy will always conquer that sadness, that hate. So let's bring the joy.
And some people might say we're just being fanboys, John. We're just Nintendo fanboys, and we will defend anything, which is, for one, the stupidest complaint possible, especially at this channel, where I like dunked on Tears of the Kingdom for like a 2-hour discussion. You know, like I am one who will not blindly love everything Nintendo does. But I do appreciate.
I've always been critical. Yeah, I always been critical as well. It's just there's a point of critical and just being negative for the being second negative, and in my heart, there's no room for that. I got enough issues going on in life, you know.
Mario Kart is like, yeah, it's the fun that we needed, I think, in game form, especially again after like 10 years of the same fundamental game, you know. And there's no other game that quite does what Mario Kart does, and some might even say that applies to Mario Kart World now. For me, they captured that exact same essence, but in a new form, and I really so much appreciate that. Like, it's just how dynamic everything feels now, with all the, like, with how different every portion of this world feels, whether it's the environment, the setting, the hazards, you know. Like, I have so much fun, like, dodging the random, like, charging chucks, or, you know, the boomerang bros throwing boomerangs at me, or the tour buses, or hopping into a semi-truck and just destroying everything, you know, which is something that happens so rarely that really makes it feel special when it does happen. Or when you're driving along that super long bridge, which, you know, it's looking back, some people are like, that's probably the closest thing to a straightaway this game has, and some people are like, that looks boring, but it's so, I find it invigorating. Even
I love that bridge so much. The Crown City Bridge.
It's so fun. It's so unique. It is so unique. You know, with how it feels, how it looks, how it plays, with being able to take, you know, if you want to go up and fly through the air, you can. If you want to take the boosters from the ground, you can. Want to grind the rails, you can. It is absurd how many ways there is to play that straightaway, you know, and yeah, I honestly really cannot praise the fundamental design of this game enough, and I really hope they experiment even more. You know, that's why I want to see even more experimentation. So at the same time, I hope people get their ability to play, you know, 3 laps more frequently than they are able to currently. Like, I would love it if Nintendo found a way to integrate that with the more open style of gameplay that the rest of the game is too. I don't know how you would do that exactly, but maybe they can make it, I think, I forget if I mentioned it earlier, but maybe you can make it where when you're playing versus mode, like that instead of it just being 1 lap on the track, when you take a route there, it ends up being a 3-lap track. So maybe
I would be hugely for that. I think that would quell a lot of people's concerns if they just allowed the track amount options for single races like that. Like if you could do at least 2 laps.
Right. I think that might be a good balance. But that would be a 3-lap setup then, if you count the intermission as a lap. And to that point, like speaking of points, actually, maybe another way they could go about it is maybe they could almost make each race like a mini Grand Prix where you get points based on your lap position, right? And so like the intermission, the highway portion counts as 1 lap. You get like points for crossing it. Then you do 2 or 3 laps on the actual track itself, and you get points for each lap as well. The only possible problem I can see being there is people might just start DCing, after the first lap, like, oh, I got screwed here. I'm just gonna bounce out, which is a genius, by the way, of Knockout Tour, but the rage quits for you. You can't rage quit it. It rage quits you.
Finally, a Mario Kart mode that understands me.
There are still times in the past where Mario Kart 8 would infuriate me at times, and I've not once had that here yet. And I think part of it is just because I kind of touched on it earlier, but when you get punished in this game, it feels so much less punishing than they used to. I think partially because with having 24 players, that being punished in any way means that you're gonna be passed by at least a handful of them, right? In general, so that way it feels like you can get back into the action much quicker, and that does such a huge job of making it feel just better in general. Where if you get hit by a single green shell, it doesn't feel like it just ruined your entire race. It gives you control back almost immediately, and you're back in there. Like, oh, if you hit like the cars in the game, like you bounce off of them, but you maintain your momentum largely, and you get right back into it. I love that, Whereas in the previous game, like you would be brought to basically a standstill, and and that was just really not fun at times, I think. So.
Yeah, the item hit mechanic in this one is so much better in my book, because there's varying degrees. If you bump into a car on a road, it's like a very minimal stop. It's like you're just going like for a millisecond, you stop. But if you get hit by like a heavier item, like a blue shell, you're gonna get tossed up in the air, and depending on you land, you're gonna take a little time. But other things like shells and bananas, they do not like get you out of the race. They'll slow you down, but they are not like a death sentence like they were in 8. Like in 8, you were like, well, there goes my chance. Rage quit. And final statement is just, the future is bright for Mario Kart World. Don't get your head out of the mud. Look up. The sky is out. The sun is beautiful. It's time to race. It
really, especially with the changing weather conditions in this game, where you can go from rain to sun, and which I love that too.
We didn't get to cover this. We didn't even get to cover this, but that's so good too.
Yeah, the weather effects, the time of day effects, or time of day rather. It all combines to this feeling not just the most dynamic but diverse Mario Kart ever, which is amazing.
It's alive. The world is alive. Yeah.
So I hope that we were able just to bring some positivity to the Mario Kart World discussion, which I know ironically might bring even more negativity. Like, how dare you guys be positive about this game? How dare you not agree with everyone, or hop on the bandwagon that Nintendo needs to fix this or the game is broken online. Like, some of these takes are so absurd. Nintendo ruined Mario Kart. Shut up. They didn't ruin Mario Kart. You may not like it. The game is perfectly fine. Most people are having a blast with it. Again, I completely understand those who would want them to do things a different way or have those options available, but let's not use hyperbole here at the same time too, right? Like, some of this talk is just getting crazy. So I just wanted to give a more positive take on the game. I'm having a complete blast, and I can't wait to play more of it tonight, John. I'm gonna be online playing more Knockout Tour, I guarantee it. So
all right, yeah, some people definitely need to go out and touch Kart.
Or drive out into the plains and Moo Meadows and touch grass there. So
that would make me feel good. That makes me feel good any time of the day.
Or let's go drive and turn up the turnips there, or pull them up, because you can do that in this game now. So, all right, everyone.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, they're out there. Mario Bros. 2 turnips. We're gonna wrap it up there. Thanks for watching. If you want to check out John's channel, John Doe. What is it, John? John Doe?
Yep, John Doe.
John Doe. Go check it out. Hopefully there'll be something on there at some point. I'll link it to in the description below. Otherwise, thanks for watching. We'll catch you later, and let us know how much you hate all of our positivity in the comments below. We'll catch you later. Bye, everyone.